Go.
Hi, welcome to my backyard. This is also my kitchen. Today I'm going to show you how to cook a smoked brisket, and I'm going to cook it Texas style. A couple of things that I want you to know: that whenever I cook this brisket, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to have fun, and I'm going to show you how to have fun smoking a brisket. I don't want you to think that you can't win a competition with a smoked brisket. You obviously can win a competition with a smoked brisket, but I'm not going to show you how to win a competition. I'm going to show you how to have a good time doing it. I'm going to show you that at the end of the process, you're going to be very proud of the product that you produce. It's going to be just as good as any of the barbecue briskets that you get in any of the barbecue restaurants, if not maybe just a little bit better. I think some of mine are better. So I'm going to show you how to do that. Couple of things that I want to start out with before we go in the house and start preparing the brisket itself to go onto the smoker. The first thing that I want you to understand is that I use a pellet grill. I have used an old-fashioned classic smoker before. I prefer to use a pellet grill for a couple of reasons. One of those reasons is a pellet grill is really easy to regulate the temperature on. It's a lot harder to regulate a temperature and get it just right in the cooking range on a traditional smoker. You're constantly feeding wood to the fire, you're constantly stoking that fire, you're constantly taking stuff out. So even in the middle of the night when you're cooking your brisket, you're up all the time working that fire. On a pellet grill, you're not. On a pellet grill, you're setting your temperature to your desired temperature range, and you can go to bed. You can sleep. You can watch your temperature if you have a Wi-Fi pellet grill like I do. You can watch your temperature throughout the night if you feel you need to. There's some things that you need to understand about that is you can really just put it on the smoker at night, and you can wake up the next morning and it's pretty close to your desired temperature at that time. So that's why I use a pellet grill. So then the next thing is, what kind of pellet grill do I use? Well, I can buy the very expensive pellet grill that the name is basically synonymous with the term pellet grill. I have chosen not to do that. And the reason I have chosen not to do that is, it's a couple of reasons. One of them is its price. Another one is I have found other pellet grills out on the market. Some are sold in home stores, some are sold in the big box stores that have all of the same features as some of the more expensive pellet grills. What you're really looking for in a pellet grill is one that's got a warranty. You're also looking for one that is a constant feed. They also call it, in some of the other pellet grills, it's called super smoke. The reason you want a constant feed is if you are feeding pellets a few at a time and it stops and burns those out, and then it feeds a few more and it stops and burns those out. I've noticed you will get your brisket to the cooked temperature, but when you're ready to taste it, it doesn't have that really good classic smoked barbecue flavor. It's missing a lot of that. Another thing it won't have is you probably will not have your smoke ring, which is the red band just on the inside of your sliced brisket. So I have gotten a smoker that is not that big name brand. I got it at one of the home stores, and I love it. It's a fantastic smoker. It's Wi-Fi, so I can put it on my phone. I can monitor and set my temperatures. I can go to bed. I can go to the store and monitor my brisket while I'm at the store. But I did also get something that is a constant feed, so that whenever I cut into my brisket and I start to eat it, I can taste that very classic smoke flavor that I'm looking for. And the smoke ring is beautiful inside it. It's glistening, and it represents the best of a barbecue brisket. So another thing that I'm going to tell you is don't get in a hurry. I typically take, I can plan for a brisket to be ready within 24 hours. Sometimes it's usually ready within about 18 hours. Just don't get in a hurry. It's a slow process from the point that you trim your brisket to the time that you season your brisket to the time that you put your brisket on. You will put it on a very slow smoke originally and cook it at that temperature for at least 10 hours. And then you'll pull it off, you wrap it. I like to wrap mine in butcher paper. Some people wrap theirs in foil, and I've seen people that don't wrap theirs at all. I prefer wrapping it because it keeps the juices inside. It allows me to raise the temperature on the smoke and get it cooked a little bit faster, but it also doesn't dry it out. If you put it in foil, plan to have your brisket pressure cooked, because that's basically what happens whenever you put it in foil. It will cook it. It will sometimes get it to a little hotter than you want, so it takes a little bit of extra monitoring. They use the foil method a lot of time in competition. I'm not going to show you how to use competition method. I'm going to show you how to have fun. And I'm going to show you that at the end of the day, when your cook is finished, when you're slicing your brisket, you've got a family standing around you, or you've got friends standing around you, and when you take those first slices off, their mouth starts watering, yours does too. I'm going to show you how to achieve those moments in your barbecue smoke. So again, you can go the competition route. I'm not going to show you how. One of the other things that I do is I use a choice cut of brisket. Now, to be honest with you, brisket is not a choice meat to begin with. Brisket is really a trash meat. If you look at it from the way it originally is, it's tough, it's full of fat. And the way Texas barbecue even started was they took this piece of trash meat and they turned it into something special. So that's what I'm going to show you how to do. Take a piece of trash meat. And I do pick a choice cut. I don't go to the prime cut. If I was going competition, I would go to the prime cut. But I've found that I can make a really good brisket, restaurant quality, using a choice cut of meat. I have actually pulled off a pretty good brisket using a lower quality. But I'm going to show you how to use a choice cut meat, and we're going to turn that into something special. So in a few minutes, we're going to go into my regular kitchen inside the house, and we're going to start trimming up the brisket, and we're going to start seasoning it, and we're going to kick off this day. Here we go. I'm going to start with the removal of this piece of hard fat. It's darkened for some reason, and I definitely wouldn't use darkened fat. But what I'm going to do is just take that completely off of there. I pretty much got most of this hard fat off of this side. So we've changed the angle here just to give you a little bit better look here. You can see that I have now gotten most of that hard fat off. I'm not going to worry about taking it all off. There's no reason to worry about taking it all off. Part of what makes a good brisket is having some fat there. Now, what I do want to take off is this silver meat right here. You'll see how different that meat looks. You can see that how grayish colored that is, and then the bottom side of that. That's really what you want to find here. And the meat's not ruined or anything like that. It's just, it's presentation, really what you're wanting to do. You're wanting to clean that brisket up to where it presents itself really pretty. And I think I've got a piece right here that I need to get off here. Now, when you're trimming your brisket, make sure you have a really good, sharp knife. I like to use this smoker's knife that I got at Cabela's, and it is a really good knife for this kind of work. And maybe I'll turn this around here so that you can see this on this side. It's don't worry about getting your hands dirty because that's part of the job. Now you can see here this piece of fat here is kind of separating the point. I showed you the point a while ago. This is the flat right here. This piece of fat right here is separating those two. This is what you want to render whenever you're cooking your brisket. This is what makes the brisket juicy and tender whenever it's complete. The brisket over, and I've started to trim this side of here. One thing that you will notice is that I am dealing with the part that I mentioned a while ago is good fat. You'll notice that this is loose fat. It's kind of loose and it's somewhat difficult to trim off. I don't need to trim a lot off. What I've got here is I've got pockets of pretty thick fat. It's probably just a little too much. And so what I want to do is I want to just take it down a little bit. I don't want to take it all off. That would be defeating what I'm trying to do with the brisket, because the more this fat renders, the juicier, the better the brisket tastes. You just kind of need a certain fat content on this brisket to give it the flavor that you're actually looking for. When I slice these tomorrow, you will notice that this fat is all gone. So anyway, taking it down to where it's just about 1/4 of an inch, and then I will go ahead and trim this off, and I will come back as soon as I get this trimmed off.
No.
Okay, so now I've got my brisket trimmed. I've got the fat pretty much where I want it all the way around. What I've done is now, I remember I told you that I start out dry. That was just so I could trim the fat. Now what I've got to do is begin seasoning my brisket. I like to use mustard. Just any kind of regular mustard. I can use brown mustard. Sometimes I've used mustard with a mixture of pickle juice. This is not for flavor. Has nothing to do with flavor. In fact, whenever the brisket is finished, you will not know that this was there. I use the mustard for basically something to stick my seasoning to the brisket. So what I like to do is, just kind of cover it up really good. I'll rub it in. This is a time to make a good mess if you want to. Oh, I forgot to tell you that before I start trimming my meat, not just dry, but make sure it's about room temperature. The meat just performs a whole lot better whenever it's room temperature. Not going to hurt it if it's not room temperature, but I think it's easier to work with. Actually, this is not quite as room temperature as I like because some of this is actually kind of cold. But you'll see that I'm not even being very liberal with it. I'm just using something here to stick that down. I should have got me something to wash my hands off with, but I'm going to get some paper towel here and that off. Then I like to do, there's one component here that makes this Texas barbecue. Texas brisket requires a lot of really good, coarsely ground pepper. Kirkland is what I'm using right now. I like it more coarsely ground than this. But pepper is probably one of the most important parts of a Texas brisket. So I'll go ahead and first off I'm going to put some, I like to use kosher salt. Just kind of give it a good rub down with some salt. Salt's also important with Texas barbecue, but that's not as important as the pepper. Slide it over because I got a handful of pepper here, or a handful of salt. So there we go. Pepper it really good. and sometimes it doesn't come out as fast as you want it to. But pepper is one of those things that I will actually come to again here in a minute, just because it is a valuable component here for your Texas barbecue brisket. You will find every barbecue brisket here in Texas that has any flavor at all has got a good amount of pepper. You do have some of these chain barbecue places here that they've all over the United States, and they don't have much flavor, but the main reason they don't have much flavor is because they don't have much pepper. Then I have a seasoning that I like to use. I'm not going to tell you everything that's in this seasoning because it's kind of a secret, but really it's about 1 cup of brown sugar to about a 1/4 cup of onion. This is ground onion powder. A 1/4 cup of ground garlic powder. A 1/4 cup of salt once again. A 1/4 cup of black pepper once again. Then it's got some 1/4 cup of paprika, a 1/4 cup of chili powder, about 2 tablespoons of cumin, and there's a couple of extra things that I add into this. But if you use that base, you will have a really good barbecue seasoning. You can see how this is going on here, and you just you spread it pretty liberal. You want to give it a little bit what I call color. You're not going to see at this point, right now you're looking at brisket, you do not see mustard anywhere on this anymore. So I like to give it a good color. You'll coat it really good on both sides. And it's looking good. It smells wonderful right now. This is a scent that all of us Texans love. Whether it's smoked or not, it just smells great. The kitchen smells wonderful right now. You'll see that I'm patting it in. I like to give it a good rub down. They call it rub for a reason. And so I like to give it a good rub down. Massage that in as much as you can. Flip it over. Be sure you don't miss anywhere on the brisket. And once you do that, your brisket is pretty close to ready to put on a smoker. What I like to do at this point now is let it set a while. So I'm now going to wrap it up. I'm going to wrap it kind of loosely in some saran wrap. And then I will put it back in the refrigerator to sit in the refrigerator for about an hour or 2. I will pull it out and let it get to room temperature before I put it on the smoker. So once I get done with this right here, I'm going to go ahead and shut the video off until I'm ready to put it on the smoker. I will put it on probably about midnight tonight, and then we will get started from there. But anyway, here you go. This is how you prepare your brisket to start on the smoker, and we will be back in a couple of hours to put this thing on the smoker. Good night. Okay, hello guys. Here we are. It's just before midnight. The brisket has been marinating in the refrigerator for about 2 hours, and then I let it get closer to room temperature. It's not completely room temperature. It's still a little bit chilly. A couple of things I wanted to point out was whenever I trimmed the brisket, there was some meat in with the fat. What I have done is I've separated out the meat, and the meat, you remember all that silver meat and everything. There's nothing wrong with that meat. It's just that the outer layer of that meat had oxidized a little bit, as most meat does. And so, anyway, if you look at it, it's bright red meat, so it's really pretty good. So what I've done is I've saved this. I'm going to freeze this, and whenever I have enough of it, I can grind this up and make hamburgers out of it. It makes very good hamburgers. Another thing I like to do with it is chop it up and make chili out of it. So, but that's whenever I have enough of this. So what is in this pan with the foil, this is the fat. This is what will render down. I'll filter that, and that will become tallow. I'll be able to use that for all kinds of things. Anyway, I've got the smoker now set for 180 degrees. I'm going to set the brisket in the smoker on the top rack. I'm gonna cook it fat up. A lot of people cook theirs fat down. I like to put mine fat up. The fat's gonna render, and what happens is this fat will go further down into the brisket, doing basically what I want it to do. Again, some people like to put it on fat down. It's just kind of your own personal preference. Another thing that I had stated a while ago was that cheaper cuts of meat are, let's say that if this is not a prime, this is actually a choice prime. So if you're wanting to do competition, you should always use prime. That's just kind of, you're not going to win a competition if you're not using prime. If you're cooking barbecue for friends, if you're smoking for family, if you're having a little private party, choice is perfect. I mean, it's going to make an awesome barbecue for you. It's going to taste the same as a prime. It's going to be just pretty much the same as prime. It's not just going to be show quality. What you've got here is, this is going to be a wonderful brisket. Your friends are going to love you for it. Your family's going to love you for it. You're going to make something that you're really going to enjoy. So here I am. It's like I said, it's just before midnight. I've got my smoker set for 180 degrees, or right about that. What I've got here is I've got a Pit Boss smoker. This is a pellet grill. I'm using oak and oak and pecan pellets. I like those. I like that blend, that mixture. It's kind of a competition blend, but I like to use that. Pecan is kind of the hickory plant, so it's really a hickory-ish type of wood. The oak this is one of the woods that we like to use here in Texas when we do smoked barbecue, smoked briskets. It's good for your beef products. I use some other pellets, some other woods for some other type like pork and chicken. I like to use some of the fruit woods for pork. Also like to use just plain hickory or pecan for chicken. So anyway, the reason I like a pellet smoker, I love them all. I'd much rather be able to have a real wood smoker. That's what I love to smoke on. The thing about a pellet grill is you can regulate the temperatures. Another good thing about this is I can put this on my smoker, I can go to bed, wake up in the morning, and it's ready to move to the next phase, and I don't have to watch fire all night long. One really cool thing about this smoker is that it is Wi-Fi. So while I am upstairs in my bed, if I want to get up and check my smoker, I can just look at my nightstand, pull up my phone, and it tells me what my smoker is doing. I'm not going to put a thermometer in the meat right now. What I've got to do is I've got to cook the meat until it's about 165 degrees. When it's 165 degrees, I expect that's going to be tomorrow morning whenever I get up, anytime from when I get up to about 10 o'clock in the morning. When it is 165, I'll pull it off, and then I'm going to wrap it in butcher paper and finish it out. I will, like I said, I'm going to cook it at 180 degrees all night tonight. It's not going to be 165 until at the earliest 8 o'clock tomorrow morning, or maybe a little after that. So like I said, tonight I don't have to do anything except for let it draw its smoke. So that's really kind of the most important parts about this is to let it draw its smoke, let it do its thing. It's not going to start creating bark until it gets to about that 145 to 165. So you definitely want it to go there, and you want it to get there slowly. Okay, so the bark is what we're really interested in. That was another thing that I did with the black pepper. Black pepper likes to draw in that smoke. Black pepper is drawing in that black smoke, is going to draw in that bark that we are so interested in getting. That's whenever you get the red ring around your brisket. That is kind of like a prize here in Texas. When you've got your red ring, you've got your brisket. It's actually smoked perfectly. Anyway, here we go. I'm going to put it in. I'm going to put it on the top rack, and I'm going to go ahead and put it on the fat up, so you'll be able to see that. And here we are. My smoker has been heating up for about an hour. I will set it in here on the top rack. That grill is actually already pretty hot. Oh. Let's see here. I'm gonna have to figure out how to get this. Stop. Okay. Here we go. We're setting that down there. Fat up. And we're going to sit there and we're going to let it cook all night. Have a good night, folks. See you in the morning. Good morning. It's about 6 o'clock. Actually, about 6:30 in the morning. Couple of things I have done. First off, I've let the smoker do its thing all night long. Left it untouched. But something I have just done was gone and put in my thermometer, my probe, and this is it right here. I'm looking at my brisket right now is about 154 degrees. You see it's starting to get some of the bark on it. This is what we're looking for. We're not ready to take it off and wrap it yet. We want to get it to about 165 degrees before we wrap it. Again, I've still got the smoker set to 180 degrees. You can see that right there. What you want to do is just kind of wait and let it get up to about 165 degrees. At 165 degrees, I will pull it off and I will take it inside the house. I will wrap it, and then I will bring it out and put it out here on the smoker for one last cook. The final cook is up about, I like to get it about 215 degrees before I actually pull it off of the smoker. But anyway, this is one of the really cool things about using the pellet grill. I'm sorry, my pellet grill's a little bit dirty right now. This one I've had for about 2 years. I've had this one about 2 years. One thing that I wanted to show you here is that you don't necessarily need one of the really expensive pellet grills. The pellet grill, you can find features with all pellet grills. I've even seen a decent pellet grill. It's sold at Walmart. I bought this one at Lowe's. This is the brand that they carry. I've seen it at a couple other places. I believe Academy Sports also has this pellet grill. They have the expensive ones too. You can get those other ones. I found that all of them kind of have their own classic little nuances. Some of them have an automatic cleaning option on them. Those are really nice. This one does not. I literally have to take this one apart to clean it. And that is kind of a problem. But one thing that I really love here, and you get this with some of the expensive ones too, is the fact that you can set it to a temperature. You can put a probe in your brisket and walk away from it, and you can let the brisket do its thing. I'm getting ready to go to a coffee shop and visit with some friends, and while I'm at this coffee shop, I will be able to monitor my brisket here on my phone. So anyway, this is a really cool thing that I've got here. I recommend that if you get a pellet grill, to get something that's got a way to monitor your meat while you're away from it, because one of the reasons I got a pellet grill, the main reason I got a pellet grill, was so that I could regulate my temperature and not worry about it keeping fire hot and everything else. Otherwise, I would much rather use a real wood smoker. I call it a real wood smoker. A pellet grill is real wood, but anyway, you know what I mean. I actually have really enjoyed having this. It cooks just about any kind of meat that I want, just perfectly. Anyway, this is going to take about, I would say, maybe a couple more hours before I reach the temperature of 165 degrees. I will come back to it at that point, and I will pull it off and wrap it in butcher paper. I will explain that here in just a few minutes. Anyway, here we go, and I will talk to you whenever I come back. Thank you. Hey guys, okay, so now it's just after 10 o'clock. It's actually about 10:30. The brisket right now it says it's 167 degrees. It's perfect now for me to go ahead and pull this off of the smoker. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pull it off of the smoker. I'm going to take it in the house, and we're going to wrap it up. So here's what the brisket looks like. You can see that it's got some caramelization all over the top of it. It's got what looks like a little bit of the fat is rendering on top. It also looks like it's rendering down. You can see some of the protein is dripping to the top or coming up to the top. But anyway, here's what we've got. I'm going to pull the probe out. I'm actually going to set the probe aside. Well, I don't want it to fall on the ground, but anyway, it did. So it is right here. I'm going to put my table up. What I'm going to do here is I'm just going to lift it off. This is a nice firm brisket. See how nice and pretty that looks. And I'm going to take it inside and we're going to wrap it up. Go. Okay guys, so now we're in the house and we're getting ready to wrap the brisket. You definitely want to wrap the brisket when you get it at this point. If you set it on the smoker and leave it on the smoker and let it get up to its final cook, if you let it do that on its own, sometimes the brisket can overcook, it can dry out. You don't necessarily want that to happen, or actually you really don't want that to happen. A couple of methods for wrapping a brisket, and there is one way that is used in competitions, and it's with foil. What foil does with a brisket is it really speeds up the cook process. Whenever they're in competition and they need to speed up the cook process for a timeline or something like that, then a lot of times the cooks will wrap their brisket in foil. You need to be careful with that one. I have used it before. It works okay. But whenever you're speeding it up, you can actually dry your brisket out. You can burn your brisket. You don't want any of those things to happen. The best way that I have found to wrap a brisket is with butcher paper. And I use this butcher paper right here. You can buy this at Lowe's and Home Depot. You can buy it at just about any sporting goods store that has a good camping section. I bought this at Academy. That's where I buy a lot of my smoking utensils and everything. But yes, Academy. Also, you can get it at Cabela's, Bass Pro Shop, those types of places. But anyway, I do definitely recommend using butcher paper. What I've done here is I've got 2 sheets of butcher paper. I have overlapped them about 4 inches, something like that. In doing the wrap, I use water and I mix it with just a little bit of apple cider vinegar. What this is going to do is going to help you get a good seal right here in this overlay. You're also going to be able to get this paper a lot tighter. And the tighter the paper is wrapped around the brisket, the more it holds that moisture in and continues to cook that brisket. So anyway, I'm going to spritz it a little bit with this water and vinegar mixture. And put my trusty gloves back on. You don't want to touch this brisket while it's so hot, because it is pretty hot. Like I said, it's 165 degrees. You'll set it right in the middle of this. Now, one thing that you want to remember when I put on the brisket fat up, I want this to be sitting back on the smoker whenever I'm finished, fat up. So what I will do is kind of remember where I am in my wrap, to make sure that whenever I am done, that I am fat up. So now I can take the gloves off. This is going to be hot inside here, but once I get this wrapped up, I can pick it up with my bare hands and take it and put it on the smoker. So here we are. You want to get it good and tight. That's the most important part. You will be sure you tuck your paper in underneath the brisket. Now again, this is top, so I have to try to remember where I am in the wraps. What I have done down here at the end of the bars is just put a couple of coffee cups down there on the paper to keep it from rolling away and getting out from under me. Again, I'm going to tuck this in as I wrap it. This is the bottom. Now this is beginning to feel a little bit loose. I don't want loose at all. You really want it good and tight. The tighter it is, the better it holds together. Here's the top again. Tight. Bottom. Okay, so now once I pull this over one more time, it is sitting on the fat is on the top again. And it does kind of look a little bit loose. I guarantee you it's not. It is nice and tight inside there. So what I'm going to do now is we're going to stick it back out on the smoker. I'm going to increase the smoker temperature to about 250 degrees. Now, one thing that I want to say, as I increase temperatures and everything else, I want to make sure that you understand that the best brisket is low and slow. If you start cooking this too fast, if you get in a hurry, you're going to make mistakes with your brisket, like dry it out. You really don't want to dry this brisket out. We all like burnt ends, but a burnt end is not supposed to be dry. A burnt end is supposed to be nice and moist. The crust on the outside of it is supposed to be a very thin crust. It's supposed to be, yes, it'll be crusty, but it's not going to be very thick. So you're not going to be able. It's not going to be offensive to eat. And you don't want the whole brisket to be a burnt end. So be careful to cook this low and slow. Don't get in a hurry. We're going to cook it to a temperature of about 210 to 215. Once we do that, we will take that off, but we will put that in later on in the video. We will show you what we do when we take this off and what we're going to do to finish the brisket off. Okay, so with that, we will take this out to the smoker and run to the next step. Okay, so here we are back out here at the smoker. I am ready to put this back on. I'm going to put it like I did last night. I'm going to put it back on that top rack, and I'm going to put the probe in it. We want to be sure that we've got this probed really well. We don't want to go past about 215 degrees, so we will watch this really closely. Again, I'm going to raise the temperature to about 250 degrees. So here we go. Back into the smoker, and by the way, you will see here I've still got my tallow in here. It is still covered up and it is still rendering. I have a feeling if I was to open this right now, you could see that it is rendered down to a nice, we call it gold or amber. It's going to be a golden color, and I will show this later on in the video, but we will filter this out, and it becomes usable for all kinds of different things. You can, a lot of people like to put it on the paper as they're rolling it up. That tallow kind of blends down into the meat. Sometimes we use it for other things later on. But anyway, that's what I'm saving over there for this. And here we are with the brisket. We're going to put it back on. I can feel that the flat's right here and the point is right here. I want to take my probe, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick it, be sure you stick it somewhere in the point of the brisket. This is the thickest part of the brisket. You want to get a good temperature reading of that brisket. I am looking right now, it's about 183 degrees. So what happened here, I took it off of the smoker and it increased in temperature. That is what you expect to happen. Even whenever I pull my brisket off at 250 degrees, I'm going to pull it off the heat completely, and it will continue to cook. So that's why you don't want to let it go more than about 215 degrees. But anyway, actually, when I'm looking at it now, it says it's about 170 degrees. So it has gone up. It's done what I wanted it to do. Again, I'm going to increase the temperature now to 250 degrees. And we will start the next video, or the next part of this video, in about 2 or 3 hours. Welcome back, folks. It's just shy of 3 o'clock in the afternoon, Saturday afternoon. My temperature gauge says that I've reached 208 degrees. That's on the upper end of done. You really kind of wanted about 200, just a little above 200 possibly. So I'm ready now to go ahead and take this off. And there's a couple of things, there's actually 3 things that I could do. One of them is I could take it off and go ahead and rest it, and then let it set for, what I'll do is I'll move it to a Yeti at some point and then let it rest. Basically, it's about 3 hours till dinner time. So I want this brisket to rest. It's very important to be sure that you don't want to cut into this thing right away. Resting is very, very important, not just to the juiciness in the brisket, but it's also it impacts the way the brisket slices. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to take the brisket off, and I'm going to let it set right here on this table. I've basically taken the cookie sheet, lined it in foil so the cookie sheet's easy to clean up afterwards. But I'm going to rest it right here. It's an autumn day, September day, and so it's nice and warm outside. I can actually let this set here on this table for about 3 hours. It's not going to hurt it at all. A lot of people will let these things set out for about an hour and then move it to a Yeti. I don't think I want to do that. And the reason I don't want to do that is a Yeti is a way of holding the temperature on the brisket for, say, more than 3 hours. It could be, it could even hold it as much as 6 hours. A Yeti is a good way to keep a brisket warm until you are ready to eat it. I'm going to be ready to eat this one in about 3 hours. So, don't want my foil to fly away, but what I can do with this is just let it sit here on this table. It's warm outside. I think it's supposed to reach about 90 degrees today, so I'm not really worried about it cooling down too much. It's perfectly safe. I'm just going to put the brisket here, and I'm going to let it sit here for the afternoon, and I'll show you how I know it's really done. So I'm going to pull the probe out of it and set it aside over here. I'm going to take the brisket. You can see the paper held up really well. I'm just going to take the brisket right here. Now, a couple of things that I can do here is I can just kind of touch on the brisket and tell that it's really nice and done. Lift on it, it kind of has a little bit of a bend, so we know that this brisket is perfect. So one of the things that I had told you about last night was saving some of the tallow. Actually, some of the brisket rendered right on top of this pan where the tallow is. What I want to do is, and this is not something that you have to do, but what I'm going to do is just pour some of this on top of the brisket itself. Now, if you remember, I seasoned it quite heavy last night. Pouring tallow over the brisket will mellow out that seasoning. So you don't want to mellow it out a whole lot. I like my brisket heavily seasoned. Not everybody does. It's just kind of a personal preference. But what this does is the tallow will mellow that seasoning down. It also renders that juiciness right down into the meat. And as tight as I tightened the butcher paper around the brisket, this could actually help it a whole lot to get some of that juiciness right back down into it. So I'm just going to pour. I would have normally poured what is in my render, but I've got enough right here on top of the foil here that I think I have just enough to pour that right on top. And you can see how that's going to work. And that looks really good. That's really good looking stuff. So anyway, I'm just going to let that set right there. Not going to hurry it up. I'm going to let it do its thing for about 3 hours. I will come back to it whenever I'm ready to slice it, and we will finish up this video. Coming up soon, I will be doing another video on how to do a pork butt or a pork shoulder. Basically, we're looking at pulled pork. Yes, that's right, really a Texas barbecue, but we have a Texas spin on pulled pork, and we really like the way we do that. One thing that I'm going to tell you right here is when it's time to slice the brisket doesn't hold up very long whenever you slice it. Whenever you slice it, be ready to serve it in no longer than 20 minutes. You don't want a slice to rest any longer than that. I like to serve my brisket. I like to slice it up, put it on people's plates, let them eat it right away, sometimes within the next 5-10 minutes. The temperature is going to be right. That's when you want to eat your meat. Don't slice it up ahead of time. If you go into a restaurant-style barbecue place where you go in and sit down at a table and you're waited on, one of the things that you really don't know is when that meat is being sliced off of that brisket. You go into one of the Texas-style barbecue joints where it's buffet style. You walk in and you actually watch the person cut your meat off for you when you order it. That's the way you want to serve brisket. It just makes all the difference in the world with the way it tastes, the way it feels in your mouth. It's moist, it's flavorful, and that's the way you really want it. So whenever you're slicing it up for a dinner party or whatever, only slice up what you're going to serve. It's okay to go back and slice more later, but only slice up what you're going to serve. So I'm going to come back in a few minutes or in an hour or two, and we will talk about finishing this brisket up. Okay, welcome back. Okay, so this brisket has been sitting outside, and then I brought it in the house for about 3 hours. It's still nice and warm. It's warm to the touch. It is pretty much perfect right now. If you'll look at it, look at that bark on that brisket. It is just gorgeous to look at. What I showed you earlier in the day was how I lined this pan right here with foil. It helps me to keep this pan clean. You can see that really all that's here is whenever I unwrap the foil or unwrap the package, that's what I've got. So it's not a whole big cleaning mess. Really, I just want you to see this. It is just gorgeous. Now, what I told you earlier was that you really want to just slice up what you're going to be eating. It's okay to sit here and slice for people as they need it, but you don't want to slice more than what you need. What we're going to do is we're going to we're going to cut into this, and I'm going to, right here is the point, and the point is not really very prevalent. So I'm basically going to cut it right about here. This is the place where I can actually see the point is, part of the point is lifting up right here. I'm putting my knife right underneath that fat layer right there. That's pretty much where it is. What I'm going to do is I'm going to be running my slices back this direction on the flat. You can see that I really do not have, I'm going to turn it right here. I really do not have a whole lot of burnt end that you would see here. Possibly right here might be some burnt end. I don't know if you remember me trimming this last night, but I had trimmed a piece off of here. There was some silver meat right here, and I had just taken that silver skin off of there. Maybe a little burnt end right there, but there's really not anything that's going to be hard to eat. It's not crusty. That's the main thing that you don't want with the burnt end. You want the flavor of the extra cook, but you don't want the coarseness of the crust that turns into that meat. What you want to see, look at this brisket is glistening. As I touch it with the top of the knife, juices pool up to the top. That's exactly what you want. I am going to show you on another video a barbecue sauce that I made from scratch. It's an easy barbecue sauce. I can make it in a sweet and tangy barbecue sauce, and I can make it in a very hot and spicy barbecue sauce. So I will be showing you that one later on in another video. It's a very simple sauce that you can make in probably about 15 or 20 minutes. It is a very good sauce. I have people come back and ask me how I make it. They love it. I have people want to take it home every time I make it for them. So I'm gonna show you a recipe on that. Right now, I'm going to go ahead and dig into this brisket, and we're going to see what it looks like. And so I'm going to take it right about where this flat looks like the point is beginning to take in there. I can touch this with my hand. It is still nice and warm. I'm using a good, once again, another meat knife that I got at Academy. You can see here what I've got. There is the point and there is the flat. Now, a couple of things that you want to know whenever you're cutting your brisket. Now, I see, look right here, you can see that smoke ring right there that's right in here. You can see that smoke ring. This is what you're really looking for whenever you make a really good brisket. This, in Texas barbecue, this is the crowning glory right here, is that smoke ring. You can see that I'm going to cut this right about here, about not quite a half an inch, it's about a 3/8 of an inch. And you can see how easy this is cutting off of here. Now, this is what you're looking for. It's a nice glistening piece of meat. This has some of that fat on it from the point, but you can see this is a glistening piece of meat. And you can see it's still steaming quite a bit, even though this came off of the smoker about 3 hours ago and set at room temperature. You can see that this is just a perfect piece of meat. Really nice, really good. What we're going to do is, my family is going to cut into this piece tonight. We are not going to cut into this piece. What I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap this up in butcher paper. We're going to save this for another day. Or I may donate this to someone who is looking for something good to eat for dinner tonight. That is the one thing I really like to do, is take the meats that I cook and see how I can use them in such a way like that. And so with that, I'm going to wish you a happy barbecue dinner. I hope your barbecue turns out like this barbecue. Bon appetit, Texas style.